and welcome to another episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast. My name is Pia, and our topic for today is blogging about our favorite topic, which is, of course, heavy metal. And therefore, I have a very special guest who I follow on Instagram for a while now. We have a very similar taste in music, so I'm always happy when I read what she has to say about an album that I'm curious about to listen to. Yeah, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Metal Mance. I have been blogging for almost 9 years. So
Wow.
yes, I'm on Instagram, but I started out on WordPress, then started sharing my stuff to Facebook. But Instagram is kind of where my platform really got going. But you can call me Maria as well. My name's Maria, but yeah, Metal Mance or Maria is fine.
Perfect. So you started with a quote unquote real blog back then, with a website, so to speak?
Yeah, and it's still going. I was in my last year of my uni grad degree, and I really needed something to procrastinate with. So I was looking at other media outlets who were advertising for writers. And I was thinking, oh, I could create my own blog to use as a portfolio to apply for all these amazing media outlets. And then I realised, actually, I could just do this myself. I don't have to write for other people. So, yeah, I started out on WordPress, and when people still wanted to read longer reviews. And then when I found Instagram, that's where it all kicked off, really. But with Instagram, I now shorten my reviews so it can all fit on the grid and people can just read it on Instagram instead of going to my blog. But the WordPress is still there.
Cool. So are there longer versions of your Instagram reviews on your WordPress as well?
No, it's still just the short versions. I think now about I work full time and just trying to fit everything in, I just stick to shorter reviews now. But if I do feel inspired, then I will do a longer review and kind of split it up in sections for Instagram. But yeah, it has to be a really special album now for me to feel inspired to write a really long review now.
But that's what I find really impressive, that you can put in so few words how an album sounds like. I can confirm the albums that I listened to and that you were reviewing, that it's 100% true what you said about them. And for me, it's always difficult to put in just a few words what I think about an album. So that's what I find really impressive.
Oh, thank you. I think you started following me when I posted about Anne is okay.
Yes.
Or it must have been another German band. But oh, thank you so much. Yeah, my boyfriend says the same thing. He says, I just don't know how you can write about what you think about the music. But I think for me, I really struggle with writing about music that I don't feel any emotion for. So everything that I write about, I really feel strongly about. I was thinking about this the other day, especially during lockdown when we were all chronically online. We didn't have anything else to do. And I was reviewing everything that I was being sent. And I reviewed a lot of really average stuff that I just, but you know, it passed the time. But if I listen to something and it doesn't trigger an emotional response from me, or I really don't feel anything listening to it, then I have nothing to say and I can't write a review. There's been so many bands that I really want to talk about, but when I listen to the stuff, I'm like, this doesn't actually make me feel anything. I have nothing to say. So everything that I write about on my blog, I really feel something for, or it really triggers an emotional response from me. And I think that's why I can write in so much detail about how I feel about it, because, you know, that music really makes me feel something.
Yes, and that's the advantage of doing stuff yourself. So you're your own boss and nobody is there who says, you now have to write a review about it. You can just say, okay, I don't feel like it. It doesn't connect with me, so I won't do this because these are only my recommendations here.
Yeah, and I have tried writing for other outlets before, and what I didn't enjoy about that is, first of all, you have to compete with other writers to write about albums you want to. And there's pressure to write a lot each month. I remember one magazine I was writing for, I was feeling pressure to write one interview a week, and interviews take a lot of time. Bearing in
Mm-hmm.
mind I was still doing my blog and working full time, but also just really kind of pressure to write as many reviews as you can. But so I ended up signing up to a load of albums, but I felt nothing for. And then they want at least 500 to 1,000 words for a review, and I was like, I literally have nothing to say. So gosh, so I was like, this isn't for me. I'm just going to go back and just stick with Metal Mance and just go at my own pace. And, I can go for probably sometimes half a year. I don't write anything. That's when I just have a break or nothing inspires me. But especially at the moment, I feel like I'm having a big resurgence, and I'm listening to a lot of stuff I like. I have a lot to say, and I feel like 2025 might be the year that I blog a lot more, and I want to share as much as possible. Or
Mm.
music has just got better again. I don't know. I just feel like we're on the cusp of something really exciting. I feel like there's a real energy now. I don't know if it's just everyone recovering after COVID, but I feel like there's a real energy to music again, and I really hear that in everyone's music, and that's what really excites me.
Yeah, I think it's what you said, that everyone has recovered or processed the COVID era. And also, there is so much weird stuff going on in the world right now that you can put into creativity to just let it go. So that might also be a
Yeah.
reason.
Absolutely. I mean, if we didn't have creative things to really escape with, then we'd have nothing. That's why we love art. That's why we love music and films. It's our chance to escape. And yeah, absolutely. Music is a huge escape for me. And like I said before, when I find a song or an album or a band that really make me feel something, it can almost be like an out of body experience. It just music can really take you somewhere. It's just when you have that connection. I find it happens rarely now, but when you find that connection, it reminds you about why you got into music in the first place. But
Yes.
yeah, absolutely, it's just so much horrible stuff in the news, but we can turn to like nice creative things to help us escape.
So, how did you get into metal music? Let's start there.
I've always loved music in general. My dad's had a hi-fi where he had a lot of vinyl, a lot of cassettes, a lot of CDs. My dad has never listened to metal. So people always assume my dad got me into it, but that's not true at all. He was into stuff like Simple Minds, Gary Newman, a lot of like electronic stuff. So I'm a big Gary Newman fan, but he didn't listen to rock or metal or anything. But I always really loved music. And when I found rock, it just released something in me. And how old was I? I was about 11 years old, where new metal was really kind of huge.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was an impressionable 11-year-old. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then for me, when I was 12 or 13, and the Rasmus became huge.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, I still love the Rasmus. But for me, they were really my gateway into heavy music. Now, people might find that funny because they're not heavy at all. But after the Rasmus, I then sought out heavier stuff. And I remember I was in a newsagent's and I saw a metal magazine, and it was Rock Sound. And this was in 2004. And I was 13, and the Rasmus were in the magazine that month, and they had a cover mount CD. And I had some pocket money, and so I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to buy this magazine. The Rasmus are in it. It's going to be great." Anyway, that buying that magazine honestly changed my life. On that CD, there was a band called 18 Visions, and they had their single on there, Waiting for the Heavens. And honestly, it was like that song at that moment in time, at that age, it felt like that someone had made that song in a lab for me, because that song felt like it was made for me. It was everything I was looking for. It was melodic, it was heavy, there were screams, there was a catchy chorus, and they all still had eyeliner on. So, I was like, oh my God, this band. And yeah, I've never looked back. Interestingly, I never got into stuff like Metallica or Iron Maiden. I bypassed all the classic stuff, just went straight into underground metalcore, and I've never looked back. My life changed in that moment. I loved the melodic stuff. I loved emo. And then as I've got older, I've kind of explored heavier stuff. And around the same time I started my blog, that's when I was really exploring progressive metal and progressive rock. And I think I started my blog because I suddenly found so many bands. None of my friends had heard of them. None of my friends knew them. And I was like, oh my God, I have to tell people about these bands. Or I have to find like-minded people. So thank God for Instagram. But that's how I kind of got into metal. Never looked back. I mean, metal isn't the only genre that I listen to. I love drum and bass. I love pop. I really love world music and world pop. I think if music is good, or like I said, it really resonates with me or really triggers an emotional response from me, then I will like it. There's a lot of pop music I like, but it just has to make me feel something. But yeah, metal will always be life for me.
It's so funny because I can relate so much to what you just said. I also listened to the Rasmus when I was younger.
Yes.
And also there were the metal magazines with the CDs actually that I needed to discover new music. And I talked to a friend who is a bit younger than me a while ago, and I asked her, how did you discover new bands and stuff? She was like, yeah, like everyone else via YouTube. And I was like, well, YouTube wasn't a thing back then because the internet connection was so bad that it was impossible to watch videos.
This is it. I had dial-up internet for years. I could not use the internet to find new bands. It had to be the CDs. And that's where I found all my bands, all the albums. I was buying Rock Sound, I was buying Metal Hammer. And then you have the more extreme ones like Zero Tolerance and Terrorizer. And I still have all those in a box at my house. But yeah, that was my metal education. And I would just listen to those on repeat all month until the new issue comes out. I think because I was at just the right age, early teens, I was just devouring it all. I still put on those CDs now for nostalgia. I don't know how else I would have found out about those bands of music. It was only until I was at school and I could go to the computer room at lunchtime that I could check out stuff on Yahoo Music, because it was the school internet. But school blocked a lot of the music sites, so I could only try and listen to stuff that I had access to. But yeah, no, CDs. I don't know if the show's still going, but like BBC Radio here, there was the punk rock show on a Tuesday night. There was, Zane Lowe's rock radio show. And I used to sit next to my dad's hi-fi, and I used to record songs by my favourite bands onto cassette. And I still have these cassettes, and I wrote down like the bands and the songs. But Mike Davies' punk rock show, that was life-changing as well. And he was so passionate about it, and he just played the stuff he wanted to, and that was like a music education for me as well. So I think we really kind of grew up in an age of like metal discovery. But I find now, I discover a lot of new bands now on Spotify. Even though I feel really conflicted using Spotify, but it's still so good at finding bands. But, I don't just kind of listen to it and then think, oh, okay, that's cool. I post about them on Instagram. I try and see them live. I buy merch. I buy CDs. I buy vinyl. So I still try and, create revenue for them. I know that Spotify is it's just theft at the end of the day, but I do try and support the bands that I discover via Spotify. But
yeah. Yes, you said the algorithm there is so good, and I also discovered a lot of bands via this algorithm actually in a few years ago. Now I'm using Tidal, but I used YouTube Music a lot as well. But that's an amazing thing to say. Well, I support the bands in another way, like telling other people how good they are. So do you have any recommendations?
Oh gosh, I have loads. When I'm in, I call it my blogging hiatus, but when I'm having a break from writing, I still try and update a playlist that I have. But at the moment, the bands that are really exciting me there's a band called Mirrors. I think they're going to be releasing a new record this year, but on my last playlist update, I got a song by them, and that whole thing about resonating with music and feeling an emotion, my God, that song makes me feel some stuff. I mean, I do love stuff like Bill Murray and Electric Callboy, but what I'm really excited about at the moment is later this month, we've got a new album by the 500, who I love. I've loved them for a long time. They are just really awesome metalcore, and I am also excited for the release this month by a band called The Grey, who are an instrumental post-metal kind of bit doomy, bit sludgy, and yeah, their riffs will just make you feel something. I'm always into metalcore, but I'm really into kind of progressive metal, and I really love instrumental metal and post-rock as well. But also, I just really love bands that have a really good vibe, like Electric Callboy. There's an Australian band at the moment I really enjoy called Astralize, and they are just a lot of fun. But yeah, I think I'm trying to seek out music that has good vibes. My boyfriend has completely different taste to me. He's more pop punk. We are big kind of nostalgic emos as well, but he really got me into an artist last year called Hardy, who was originally country and now does kind of country rock. And that really isn't my thing at all. But his album last year was just brilliant. It's catchy, it's dark, it's funny, the lyrics are genius, just really good vibes when I listen to it. And so yeah, so my boyfriend always says that he's slowly converting me to like pop punk, and I'm slowly converting him into heavier stuff. So yeah, it's a nice little arrangement.
Yes. When a band thinks, well, you might like them, how can they get in touch with you so that you might write a review about them?
So I have a contact page on my WordPress, on my blog. So that's metalmance.wordpress.com. On Instagram as well, bands can DM me. If I'm a bit overwhelmed or I'm not actively blogging, then I do say in my bio, please don't request reviews in my DMs. Because sometimes it's really lovely when bands reach out, but also I want to be clear that I'm not currently taking on any reviews. Yeah, my DMs are always open. I love hearing from people and I love engaging with people. So yeah, DMs and my WordPress contact page.
Yeah, because what people should know is that also we with this podcast are not doing this as a full-time job or earn any money with it.
Oh yeah.
It's our hobby.
It is. And I've never received a penny for this. I've always promised myself that, this will always be just a hobby. If I start taking payment, that's it. I will stop. I don't even pay for my WordPress. I still have the free one because I don't really want to put money into it, because then I feel like I need to commit to making it a proper side hustle, which isn't what I want to do. I don't pay for sponsored posts. I don't have a blue tick on my Instagram. It's just to share music and to support and just to give something back to the community. But as soon as blogging starts to feel like work, that's when I have a break from it, because I'm like, no, it has to be honest. I have to have like genuine feeling, and I want it to be as genuine as possible. And I think when I look back at reviews during times when I really wasn't fully engaged with it, you can tell in my writing as well if I'm really not feeling it. But when I'm really engaged with an album, you can tell how in my words and in my review that I'm really digging it and I'm really enjoying writing about it. But yeah, it's a balance, and I still haven't mastered that yet. And I've been, like I said, I've been doing this almost 9 years, and I will either write solidly for 3 months and do a load of blog posts, or not post at all for 6 months. There's no in between, and I still haven't got that balance right of not burning myself out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like a very healthy way of doing it without any pressure.
Yeah, and I think, that's the biggest joy of just doing it myself. I don't have anyone to answer to. I have my boundaries. Bands do email me and they ask for a review, and I reply and I'm honest, and I said, I don't have any capacity to write about you because I've got a job and doing my MA, but I always try and say, I can add you to my playlist, or good luck with your launch, but I don't just want to leave them hanging. And I think bands really appreciate that, because they must email so many people, and it's hard out there. It's hard to gain any traction. So
yes, of course. Do you have a lot of contact with your readers as well?
Yeah, I think that's what's been so good about Instagram. I've really found my community, and what's so good about Instagram as well is, I think, well, mainly especially during lockdown, I started posting more of my physical music collection. So I'd post more about my CDs and my vinyl. I mean, what else could we do during lockdown? And that's when things really opened up, and I became friends with more music collectors, more metal collectors. There's so many lovely communities out there, and that's a real shame about the algorithm now, is you don't reach as many people, or you can't engage with as many people. But during lockdown, when the algorithm was amazing and you were in contact with so many people and so many people found your work, it really opened up my world. And that's why I get so sad now when the algorithm just squashes everything, and not even my friends or my followers or my readers can see my stuff anymore. And I just think it's a shame, because the whole community is affected. I love connecting with people so much, especially when you find a really obscure band, like a really underground band, and then you find a fan base for that band that you connect with. That is amazing, because like I said, before I started my blog, like, my friends weren't into the music, or my friends would always tease me about being into bands that they'd never heard of. But on Instagram, it's just, you can find a community on there, and that's what's so lovely about it. And it's so easy as well. But I just wish that the algorithm sort itself out, but we know that's not going to happen.
You have a hashtag in your Instagram bio that says "Make CDs Great Again." What do you like the most about CDs?
Oh, so I got asked about this on a CD collectors podcast as well. I have a bit of banter with some vinyl. I mean, I collect vinyl as well, but CDs are still my main joy. But I do love to tease vinyl collectors about how CDs are superior. But I don't know. I think I was still young enough to start collecting cassettes. And then when my dad kind of switched to CDs, that's when we could switch to CDs. And then when the CD Walkman came out, that's when it all became more accessible. And I love it. I love, I'm quite a tactile person, and I love the scent of things, and I love the smell of a new CD booklet, and I think that has a real nostalgia for me, where you buy a new album and you take the little CD booklet out to read the lyrics, and you have that lovely print smell, and just the whole thing of the CD, just opening it, taking the CD out. And I love that you can pause, you can skip, I remember on an old Walkman I could program which tracks I wanted to listen to. On tapes and on like cassettes and vinyl, you have to commit to listen to it. Whereas CDs, it just made the whole music listening experience so much more exciting. And I love that you could, stack CDs and like pop them in a rack, a CD rack, and then take the CDs out, put them in a big wallet, and like show your friends. You and your friends would like show each other your CD collection. I used to burn the CDs for my friends. Before, this is obviously when I was in school and long before blogging happened, but I would make them mixtapes on CDs, try and get them to listen to the bands I listened to, and of course they hated them. Oh, and I always used to really break my heart because I used to put in a lot of thought into the songs that I put on these CDs. But yeah, and then when the vinyl revival happened, I collect vinyl, but I'm always scared I'm going to scratch the vinyl or damage the vinyl in some way. And then now that it's really fashionable to collect vinyl and the prices have just shot up, like for me, CDs are still the superior format because it's cheaper and it's just easier to store.
And you don't have this insane number of colored vinyl versions.
I do, yeah, I do love buying coloured vinyl, but I don't enjoy when there's such a limited run of a certain pressing and they're like, oh, pre-orders go live midnight, and then that you're not going to get a look in, and so I don't even try buying them because I don't want my music buying experience to be stressful.
Yes.
And I know that CDs are slowly making a comeback because I think people have realised it is a superior format. but a few years ago, I did an Instagram post about the different types of discs. Like I do have full colour CD discs, and there was one where it looked like a mini disc, but it wasn't. Because it was only a short EP. You could see it was clear plastic apart from where the music was on the CD. I mean, I was like, oh, why can't CD manufacturers and bands like do more exciting things with CDs and vinyl? But obviously vinyl was a lot easier with the different colours. But I still have hope that the CD will make a mighty comeback. But also it will be a bad day because then they'll really explode in price, and the same will happen again as it did with vinyl.
Yeah. Before we started talking, I asked ChatGPT what I could ask a metal blogger. And there was one question. Most of them are not so cool, but there was one question that I found is really cool, and I want to ask you. Do you have any tips for first-time festival goers?
Ooh. Would take flip-flops. Yes. If you're planning on using the showers or you're kind of stumbling between tents. So I didn't actually go to my first big festival until last year. I was more of a small festival girl. I would go to Tech Fest and Damnation Festival, which is an all-day festival. And it wasn't until I went to Download Festival last year that was my first big festival. And I'm a lady of a certain age now, so I have to have access to showers and a toilet. So I would say your first festival, take flip-flops because you don't want to be barefoot in shared showers. If you're camping, make sure you take some warm clothes to sleep in because it's always really cold at night. And take spare loo rolls with you because those portaloos are grim. Oh yeah, hand sanitizer. So yeah, that's my kind of survival kit for a festival.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to say or that is important to know about you?
I think if anyone's thinking about blogging or sharing their love of music, I would just say, just be genuine and be yourself. And it's so easy to feel the pressure of covering the same bands that other outlets are covering. But if you don't resonate with them, don't write about them. You don't have to share them, and just stay true to yourself and write or feature the bands that really mean something to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So last question, you said it already, but again, where can people find you when they want to read what you have to say about your favorite acts, your favorite bands.
Amazing. So you can find me on my WordPress, metalmance.wordpress.com, Instagram, it's just Metal Mance, and my Facebook page, although I don't really give that much love anymore. On Spotify as well, I have my playlist, which I refresh every now and again, and my playlist is Metal Mance Mix Mance. So hopefully people will find me there. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yay. Thank you out there for listening. You can find us at Bleeding Metal Pod, and me, my Instagram is power_Pia. So thank you for listening. Now get over to the Mix Man's playlist. And bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.